welcome into the Week 13 episode of Craze's Corner. You guys are going to want to stay tuned. We're going to be breaking down a bunch of different running back groups, telling you who you want and who you don't want on your fantasy football teams going forward. But first, let's get into some news. We're going to start with the Antonio Brown news, where he's going to miss at least 2 more weeks with his ankle injury. The reports have come out that it's possibly also a heel injury as well, which is why it's taking so long to heal. The Bucs don't really need him right now, so they're going to give him all the time that he needs to heal so he can come back 100% for the playoffs. And then we're going to move on to Chase Edmonds, where Cliff Kingsbury announced that he will miss at least 1 more game, and he won't be back until Week 14. It's great news for James Conner. Make sure you're starting him in all of your leagues. And we'll see what kind of impact he has once he comes back. They want to make sure he's fully healthy. They are coming off the bye, and this was kind of the goal week that they wanted him to come back for, but he's not ready, so it's going to be another week on him. And then big news for your fantasy football teams, with Christian McCaffrey being out for the rest of the season. He was placed on IR, and because he's already been on an IR stint for the beginning of the season, he is out for the rest of the season. What does this mean for your fantasy football team if you have him? We're going to discuss some other options, some other guys you might be able to pick up. But first, let us know, are you going to be drafting Christian McCaffrey number 1 overall next year? Let us know using the Media app. It's an amazing app you can find on the Google Play and App Store. It allows you to host your own virtual press conference, and you can share it directly to any social media platform. I definitely recommend you guys go check it out. And again, it's available on the Google Play and App Store. And now let's welcome in our guests. We have Zach from Ocean State and Will. Welcome, guys.
Hey, man. Thanks for having us.
No problem. My camera and everything seems to be working a little better today. No problem so far, so let's hope that continues on, knock on wood. But let's start with the Panthers' backfield. With Christian McCaffrey being out, obviously Chuba will have his opportunity to step up again, but throughout the past few weeks when Christian has been playing, Abdullah has out-snapped Hubbard as well as getting more touches. So what will we see? I don't think Abdullah can hold up to that. So for me, if I'm having one of these 2 guys on my team, I think it's going to be Hubbard. I think he's got the higher upside. And being the rookie, I think that there's a better chance he becomes and plays that Christian McCaffrey-esque role. But I do see some people who are like, pay attention the last few weeks. Abdullah has been on the field more. I think that's because he kind of spells Christian McCaffrey a little better, especially in the third down situations. And when the Panthers need to throw the ball, Abdullah will be in the game. But with Cam at quarterback, I think it's still a run-first team. So that's for me why I'm picking up Chuba anywhere I can. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, so I think Chuba is the, more prototypical running back, right? The guy that's going to be more involved in the, just ground game, whereas Abdullah is going to be your PPR guy. 20 targets in the last 5 games. So, definitely something to keep an eye on. But when you look at, they get the bye this week. After that, it's kind of brutal. At Buffalo, Tampa Bay, at New Orleans, and at Tampa to round out in the championship. Probably something you want to stay away from.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, Zach. I think stay away. But if I'm going to pick one, I'm actually going to go with Abdullah because I think Cam is – so, look, Cam's going to probably vulture all the short touchdowns, the running touchdowns. And so the value to me in the running back position for Carolina is who's catching more passes. And I think that's going to be Abdullah. And look, watched him play with the Vikings the last couple of years. He's a decent player, and he definitely can catch the ball out of the backfield. So if I'm having to pick a running back for Carolina, I'm going with Abdullah. But honestly, the running back I'm picking is Cam Newton if I can pick him up.
Yeah, he did have a bad week with the interceptions last week. Hopefully he can change the course next week when they play Atlanta.
He killed me, Zach.
He killed me too, don't worry. He killed me too. He pretty much ruined my fantasy my playoff hopes in one league, which is my followers league too. And I back-to-back years have not done good in my followers league despite having what I consider to be a good team. It's been brutal. But let's move on to Zach's team here. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins backfield.
Yes.
Surprising to most, they actually do have the running back 14 in that backfield currently with Myles Gaskin. But last week, now with the addition of Phillip Lindsay, his snap percentage did drop to 50%. And I think that will continue to drop as Lindsay and Malcolm Brown continue to get worked more back into the offense. Gaskin had a big week last week with the 2 touchdowns against the Panthers, which was what kept him relevant in fantasy. But for me, if you have Gaskin, you're probably going to start him for a bit, but I think come playoff time, he's probably not going to be reliable. But what do you think, Zach? I know you're going to be the expert on this backfield.
Yeah, so I mean, it was basically a 50-50 split, essentially, right? And the organization seems to be pretty high on Phillip Lindsay. He seems to make a pretty good impression in his short time there so far. But I think it's going to continue to be a timeshare. I think we've talked about this before. I think Phillip Lindsay instantly competes for one of the better running backs on that depth chart. So to have the 2 of them, it's definitely going to help in Miami's actual playoff push that we've somehow managed to find ourselves in, winning 4 games in a row. I think if we win this game against a definitely beatable Giants, then you go into the bye week. I know I'm kind of getting more into the team overall, but I think as far as the running backs, Gaskin takes a hit, in my opinion.
Well, hey, Zach, I think Gaskin is still the scoring threat, though, right? Because he scored the touchdown last week. I get everybody's like, if you're on your waiver wire, you're hoping for Lindsay because Gaskin's probably not available on your waiver wire. So you got Lindsay last week. But it seems to me that when it's important and it matters, like getting points, it seems Gaskin's still getting the feed. So as a Gaskin owner, I'm going to keep pushing Gaskin because he won me a game last week. So I'm not going to complain. But like you said, we'll see. But hey, man, Miami might be the story of the year because they're getting hot right now. And I think Tua's proven everybody, everybody thought he was washed up and was going to be gone. Crap, those 2 picks that Miami has next year, if they can use them for another position besides quarterback, you better be careful next year. And then you may want to start thinking about how you're going to draft next year in fantasy because those offensive players for Miami may be way more valuable than we think.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have their first-round picks. That does hurt them a little bit in this draft. But as you were talking about how Gaskin's kind of been that scoring option, I think as Phillip Lindsay gets accustomed to the offense, obviously that was just his first week there, and him and Tua continue to build a rapport. I think he's a better running back than Myles Gaskin. That's not a knock on Gaskin at all. I'm just really high on Phillip Lindsay, so I think they will probably end up in about a 50-50 split, and a 50 split of the Dolphins backfield could be valuable in some games, but I think it's going to be inconsistent. Let's move on to the Jets backfield, staying in the AFC East. This is a backfield where I kind of thought Ty Johnson, he was going to get majority of the work because that's kind of what they'd shown with with Michael Carter, and then Ty Johnson would come in, spell him, and they just kind of go back and forth. It's kind of the same situation that the Eagles were in when Miles Sanders was playing and Kenneth Gainwell was coming in to relieve him of his duties, and then all of a sudden Miles Sanders isn't playing and Kenneth Gainwell disappears. Ty Johnson had 34% snap share, only 6 carries, where Tevin Coleman was up to 45%. He had 16 carries and 2 receptions. And then Austin Walker comes out of nowhere and scores a touchdown. I picked up Ty Johnson in a couple leagues last week, and I dropped him this week. I don't think you can roster. Sure, you could take a chance on Coleman. I think Walker would be an extreme shot in the dark going forward, but I don't really want any of these guys until Michael Carter comes back. I think this backfield is going to be kind of a wash for fantasy. You're super deep and you're super needy. Maybe one of them will be available on your waiver wire. They're going to get a few carries, but other than that, I'm kind of staying away from the Jets backfield going forward. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I have to elaborate on much more than what you said already. You basically nailed it, because I totally agree. When you have multiple running backs on a poor offense, that equation usually equals fantasy headaches. So until Michael Carter comes back, I won't have a Jets running back on my roster unless I have to.
I have nothing else to say. That's exactly the truth.
Yeah, there's certain situations in deeper leagues where I see, sometimes you gotta make a spot start, and I think they will be, depending on the matchup, you'll be able to spot start some Jets. But you're not going to get consistency from any of them. And from what I saw, the Jets don't even know what they're doing on offense right now. So we will see how that entire offense really breaks down now that Zach Wilson's back. I liked some of their receiving options with some other quarterbacks, but, Zach Wilson, is he the future?
What was that play? It's one thing, right, for that to happen. I just don't understand what it was. I think Zach Wilson, my buddy says he's like, he reminds him of Kyler Murray. I think he's like bizarro Kyler Murray and just not good.
He's the off-brand Kyler Murray, right? Walmart brand.
Yep.
Well,
great value.
Who didn't write a story this week about the draft last year and who should have been drafted where, right? And all these quarterbacks are taking a hit because of what New England's doing. It just,
of course,
yeah,
right? You're kind of like, really, Zach Wilson, shit. And then of all the teams, right? The Jets are sitting there looking at New England like, oh my God, we messed this up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean they're looking at their practice squad quarterbacks like, oh my God, they're better than this guy.
Right? Joe Flacco, where are you?
Yeah, get in here, Flacco.
Oh shoot! Well, better luck next year. Jets.
Jets. Suck.
Jets or not Jeff. Jeff is actually in the room, so he will be joining us shortly. Okay. But let's move on to our next team. We're going to be talking. Hey, Jeff, welcome in.
You made it.
We're talking about the Jets, not the Seahawks, but the Jets.
Don't worry, the Seahawks.
Seahawks are about as good as the Jets right now. So.
Yeah. The Jets might be better, actually. Anyways, moving on to the Ravens here. We have, pretty much a two-man backfield between Devonta Freeman and Murray. Freeman's snap percentage has dropped since Murray has come back, and Murray's is continuing to increase. Freeman had 16 carries on 49% of the snaps, where Murray only had 8 carries on 44% of the snaps. But, Lamar Jackson is still the running back one for the Ravens. I think Freeman, for now, is going to be more consistent than Murray. Obviously, he's getting the touches, whereas Murray hasn't. And Freeman's been involved in the passing game. So for me, if I'm owning one of these guys, I do own Freeman in one league. I don't feel comfortable starting him any week. But, you can start him. He will be able to score you some points. And he has been able to score some touchdowns as well. So in that backfield, I'm leaning towards Freeman, but I'm kind of interested to see what you guys think. Latavius Murray is going to come back and get that role as he continues to get healthier, or will it be kind of that 50-50 split that we're seeing right now? I'll let you start off, Jeff.
Well, with you talking about not playing him, this might be the week to play him against the Pittsburgh Steelers because their defense has just fallen completely apart. The hubcaps have fallen off the vehicle, man. It's looking bad. The back tire's got a flat. This is the time to start them against this defense, man. Both my teams, Seahawks and the Steelers, they both suck right now. So.
Oh man.
But Freeman just looks a lot faster. He looks kind of spry. I think he's going to get a lot of dump offs. I would stick with him over Murray. Murray still looks kind of slow to me now, man. I don't know. That's just my thought. I kind of like Freeman.
Yep. Yeah, what do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he scored in 4 of the last 6 games, and it seems to be involved in both the passing and the ground game. So I guess if you're in a position where there are a lot of running backs, there's some random buys weeks that are coming up. So I guess if you're in a position you have to start a Ravens running back. For me, it's going to be Devonta Freeman.
And Will, what are your thoughts?
I don't know what to add. I mean, that's one of those things that just makes you sick as a fantasy owner. Can y'all just pick one and go with them? Because I don't know who, like you said, would we all be shocked if Latavius Murray put on 3 good weeks?
No.
Right? I mean, so.
Not at all.
And as a Latavius Murray owner, he will sit on my bench until someone in Baltimore decides they're going to pick somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking to Jeff about a good matchup against Pittsburgh, and then they play Cleveland, Green Bay, Cincinnati, and the Rams, so no really tough matchups going forward. So if you are really running back needy, these guys might be able to give you a week or two. I think, you're going to be, rolling the dice a little bit, picking which one's going to score that week, but most likely one of them is going to score any given week. But let's move on to their division counterparts. We have the Browns. Both their running backs disappointed last week with Chubb and Kareem Hunt's return. I knew Kareem Hunt, they're on bye this week, so they really didn't want to risk him getting hurt. But neither of them really had a good week. Are you guys concerned at all about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going forward? You just think, it was a one-game thing. They're playing Baltimore division rivals, and that's kind of what led to it. It was a negative game script, even though, Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions and the Ravens still won that game. I think they're the only team to win when their quarterbacks throw 4 interceptions in the past, 20-something years, I think it was. They were the only team. It was like 1 in 100 and something. But, Jeff, what do you think about the Browns' current running back situation? Are you comfortable with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going forward?
Well, in my money league, I would take either one of them. This is the guy that actually had Adrian Peterson on his roster. Anyway, that's another story. What I really feel like what's happening with them is now everybody knows that all they do is run the ball. They've got some injuries on the line. Baker cannot throw the ball. The receivers aren't the best, so everybody is like, we're just going to stack the box and we're going to stop the run. So depending on who they have left, if they do have pretty strong run defenses, it's going to be some tough sledding. But you can't sit them. That's the only thing, especially Chubb. I wouldn't sit them. Hell, even Hunt. The state that we're in right now with running backs, with so many guys being put on IR, you are forced to play these guys. So, like I said, I would kill for one of those guys right now, but you're going to be cautious.
Yeah, and your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that for sure. I definitely agree with the other teams figuring out that if they can stop the run, Cleveland just doesn't win. I'm almost positive there's a stat out there that if Cleveland doesn't rush for a certain amount, they lose. Tough game against the Ravens, and then you have the bye and play the Ravens again. Pretty bad job on the schedule makers there. Part, if I have to say so. But then you got the Packers who let Henderson have a decent game, and then you got Pittsburgh, like you mentioned earlier, Jeff. They are terrible. My best friend's a Steelers fan, so I love piling on the Steelers. And I think if you have them in the championship round, like you said, you'd love to have Nick Chubb. So even if you have to, for some reason, I guess hold on to I don't know what else you're doing with them, but I think after the bye, I think he'll bounce back for sure.
Yeah.
You think he will bounce back against the Ravens, even though they just held him to under 5 fantasy points? Or you think it'll be after that when they play Las Vegas?
Right, yeah, the schedule kind of opens up after that.
Yeah.
And, but like you said, in this state of running backs, Nick Chubb looks a lot better than you probably would have imagined.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you on that. I think Chubb, so he had a bad week. I mean, it's crunch time, and you got to go with the overall season trends. And who the hell is on your bench or waiver wire that you're going to choose over him? Kareem Hunt's not on the waiver wire. So, or anybody else. I mean, maybe Adrian Peterson with the Seahawks now.
2021.
Hey, so let me tell you something. If you got Chubb on your roster and he's starting, you should be thanking the fantasy gods that you have a healthy running back.
Yeah.
You're going to put up big numbers. And you should not be hesitating whether or not to play them.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, I think playing against the Ravens again will be another tough matchup. But he's too talented to not put up numbers on your team, and you definitely have to start him. But with all this Adrian Peterson talk, let's talk about his old team. Let's break down the Tennessee Titans backfield now. You got Hilliard in there, you got Foreman in there. McNichols is going to be coming back at some point. He's going to take away from the targets that I think Hilliard got. But with that being said, Hilliard was on the field for over 51% of the snaps. He had that extremely long touchdown run where he looked fast. He was able to outrun the defense. He had 12 attempts to Foreman's 19 attempts, and obviously McNichols wasn't active. Foreman seems to be, that first down guy, but then after that, when it seems to be passing, I think it's going to be Hilliard and McNichols splitting that. So if I'm rostering any of these guys, I think I'm going to be rostering Foreman because I think he's going to have that touchdown upside once they're down by the goal line. When you're down by the goal line, I'm not really putting the ball into Ryan Tannehill's hands when he doesn't have Julio Jones or A.J. Brown, so I think you're going to be running the ball a lot. I don't even know if you can trust Foreman to score because I don't think the offense is going to be that great without all their three best players on offense. If I'm picking one of these guys, I'm going to go Foreman just for the touches and the simple fact that I think he's got the best chance to turn that into fantasy points. But I don't think Hilliard's a bad option either. You feel like you might get that higher floor from Foreman, where I think, Hilliard, you might get a dud. Where I think Foreman, he's going to see the rushing attempts. I don't really think McNichols coming back threatens that. For me, I'm going Foreman, but it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. I think this is more of a debatable topic here. So what are your thoughts, Jeff?
I kind of like Hilliard. I actually think he's a little bit more electric, if you will. Got a little bit more shape to his bait. But if you're starting either one of these guys, you're in trouble. But, for me, after what Hilliard did on that long run, I don't see you getting anything like that out of Foreman. I think Hilliard was actually getting a couple of receptions as well. But that whole offense is a mess. That's the equal to the Steelers defense is the Tennessee offense, man, where it just blew two tires on the way down the street, and now it's pulled over to the side somewhere.
Yeah, at least the Steelers defense is getting healthy. The Titans offense is not getting healthy. What are your thoughts on this backfield, Zach?
Yeah, on top of the backfield being shaky, like you said, who's Tannehill throwing the ball to? It's just terrible.
It's going to be McNichols and Hilliard.
So, with that being said, you're maybe you have confidence in these guys, and by default, they might have production. And I guess if we're debating which one you'd rather have, I agree with you, Jeff. I want to take Hilliard. Like you said, he had that 68-yard breakout run. He definitely looks like he has more juice. 2 games with 100 total yards. You'll definitely take that for that absolute disgusting offense. Hilliard for me, and man, I feel bad for my boy Ryan Tannehill. He's brutal.
It is. Sheesh.
Yeah, and Will, you want to chime in here? No? No, fair enough. It's not a pleasant situation to be in.
It's not because all the injuries has just killed it. It was a beautiful team for fantasy football.
Yeah,
At the start of the season, you thought Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, just every tool that was at Tannehill from last year, you were thinking, oh, I got this. I'm going to load up on some Tennessee players. And the whole thing has gone to shit.
Psych.
Yeah, before the season, we were talking about it on this show how, Julio and A.J. Brown aren't going to spend much time on the field together, and now neither of them are on the field. I've been a fan of Foreman since he came out of college, so I think that's probably why I'm a little scared that McNichols will take away some of the targets that Hilliard saw these past few weeks, so that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Foreman. But let's talk about the Cowboys backfield now, because I think this is a big one, rest of season. I'm going to propose a question to you guys, and I'll let you answer, and we'll come back with my answer. But rest of season, would you rather roster Ezekiel Elliott or Tony Pollard? Jeff, you start.
I'm still gonna go with Zeke because of the money, the contract. They're gonna force feed him the ball. What he's gonna do with it, I don't know. I think they're gonna get things back on track, man. They have to. But again, it's not a pretty situation. But I think they are going to force feed Zeke that ball. a little bit more than Pollard. So
Does the injury scare you at all, Jeff?
Not really. Not really. I think he knows that Pollard is right there. I honestly do. I think he will do whatever he can to try to play as soon as he can. So I think he hears the whispers going on, where people are always having this battle between Pollard and Zeke. So, he's still in Dallas's good graces right now, at least as far as the front office. So that's why I'm going with him.
And Zach?
Yep, that's definitely gonna agree again. Yeah, the thing for me is the rushing touchdown, which is the touchdown upside in general. I think Tony Pollard has one total touchdown in the entire season.
Yes, he did.
So for that, touchdown upside, you got to go with Zeke. You're in certain positions. If you handcuff Pollard, you might be able to play both. I don't know. I in my dynasty league, one of the guys he would have been in a better position scoring wise if he would have started both Dallas running backs instead of whatever option he did. So, weird times.
Mm-hmm. And Will, what are your thoughts being in Dallas?
We all know Jerry Jones is the head coach. He's the owner, general manager, and head coach. And Mike McCarthy is the perfect puppet for Jerry Jones. So they're going to play Zeke because they spent all that money on Zeke. And it's not even about the season. It's not about wins. It's Jerry doesn't want to look embarrassed about giving Zeke all that money, and actually had a much cheaper option that was a better fix for the team with Pollard. And, everybody was okay with it here until the last couple of weeks. So, everybody was good. They were winning. Looked like they were going to run away with the NFC East. And now everybody's starting to look over their shoulder, and you're starting to hear the same whispers like, well, where could that money have been spent better? Right? And so, look, it's a bigger problem. And look at the top 5 fantasy running backs in the draft. And take that and apply that to what they're taking on their teams in real NFL football salary cap. Are any of them worth it for their teams right now? Is McCaffrey worth it?
They're all hurt.
Is Dalvin? I'm a Viking fan. Is Dalvin Cook really that much better than Madison for the money he's making? Because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to piss off every Viking fan. What does week one's fumble against Cincinnati and last week's fumble for Dalvin Cook have in common? That when he fumbles and he fucks up, he has an injury.
Yep.
He laid on the field in Cincinnati, and he laid on the field in San Francisco. You would have thought, when they took him off from the cart, as a Viking fan, I thought he blew his Achilles. I thought he blew his knee. And now we heard 3 days later talking about he might be back in 2 weeks. He wasn't hurt. Now, the offensive line's an issue. He shouldn't have been hit, right? But come on, guys. At what point do we start saying, from a football perspective and a fantasy perspective, is Zeke really worth that much more money than Pollard?
No.
Now, for fantasy, I get people are going to want to play Zeke because they want to, because that's what Jerry Jones is going to dictate. But on a pure NFL level, in the modern NFL, Pollard's a better running back than Zeke Elliott. And you watch where Pollard, there's already stories about Pollard's going to be free agent next year. You watch where he goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think rest of season, I would be happy with either of them on my team. I think they will both, like as you said, Zach, I think you can actually start both of them in certain situations. I do agree with that. Which one would I rather have right now? I think you're probably, reaching for straws, if you're going to start Pollard, if you want Pollard over Zeke rest of season, because as you guys said, you guys illustrated very well that Zeke is still going to be the lead back in Dallas. But, PPR, Pollard is going to be a very solid player, and if you have him on your roster and you're questioning starting him, I'm fully confident with Pollard going forward. Are any of you guys not confident starting Pollard going forward? I know you guys all said, Zeke is the guy you'd rather have, but are any of you questionable about Pollard?
I did last week on one of my teams. I played both Zeke and Pollard, and I won the game.
Yeah, I think the wide receivers coming back, I think when both are back and healthy, it's definitely, if you look at Zeke's game log, definitely, unusually involved in the pass game. And that may come down when Lamb and Cooper are back, which then could trickle down to Pollard not getting as much work as well. So just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. When this is airing, you will have already watched the New Orleans Saints and Dallas game, so we don't want to analyze what's going to happen in that game too much, but continue on, Will, there.
How about Dalton Schultz? What a game.
Yeah, an amazing catch he had there for that touchdown. Oh.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think that we're sitting here at this part of the season and we're debating whether or not to start Pollard or Zeke is a bigger discussion for next season. Like, are you really? Because you know what? I don't know. Zeke's average draft position had to be 5 or 6, if not higher. And so that's, to me, that's a more bigger discussion. Like, what are we learning? Because some of us are already out of it. There's a couple weeks I'm already out of it this year. So what are you doing like next year? Are you really gonna overvalue running backs again? We all have been doing that lately, right? It's running back heavy, the top 5, and maybe that's not the right strategy anymore.
You just got to hit on your draft picks. Is the if you were at the back of the turn in a 10-man league and you went Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, and you got a pairing like that, you're probably doing pretty good, and you're extremely happy you went running back. Yeah. So
I'm third in the King of Lions league. But ask me where I am with the leagues that I had Derrick Henry.
Probably not quite as high.
Not high at all.
Yeah, it's been crazy this year with everything going on, and I think it's going to make for some interesting off-season discussion. Let's move on to another running back who's kind of been disappointing these past few weeks now that he's back from injury. We're going to be talking about David Montgomery. He's been seeing the opportunity. Really, I have expected him to make more of it. Not sure if he's still, trying to work his way back into the offense. I'm a big Montgomery fan. And I was fully confident going forward with him. But at this time, I'm a little hesitant. He's been seeing, the carries. He's had a few targets as well. I think Matt Nagy is probably the biggest problem in Chicago right now. We've talked about that many times on this show before. I'm not sure how Matt Nagy still has a job. But 13, 14, and 17 carries over the past 3 weeks, and he's only turned that into 63, 58, and 46 yards. Last week he averaged 2.7 yards per carry, and they were playing a god-awful defense. Detroit, I don't know if you guys have ever analyzed their defense, but they're pretty bad, and he couldn't do anything against them. He had 3 receptions for 28 yards, but he only put up 8.5 fantasy points, so I am nervous about Montgomery, but if he's on your roster, I still think you can feel confident starting him because he is the best weapon on that team offensively. And, Justin Fields will be back. I think that helps Montgomery a little bit. They can run some option plays. And Andy Dalton, he's just Andy Dalton. So what do you think, Jeff? Are you worried about Montgomery at all?
I am, especially as a guy that's holding on to Khalil Herbert as well. Just in case. I think they brought him back a game too soon. Herbert actually, looked a little bit better while he was in there, although Monty was killing it before he got injured. So, it's tough because I've been expecting him to pay dividends these last 2 games, especially against Detroit, and he hasn't. But I'm looking at their offense again. It's a mess. So it's like, what do you truly expect? I think Khalil Herbert might have thrown some defensive coordinators off. It's a similar running style, but they actually just fed him the ball. Can I afford to sit him? No, because my other running backs are trash. So I have to go ahead and play him. But I do think I thought he'd be playing much better. I was actually glad when he came back. And now I'm kind of like, hoping.
Yeah, I thought last week was going to be a breakout game for him. I thought, playing the Lions, not a very good defense. I thought he'd be able to score a couple times, but, Matt Nagy is the coach of the Chicago Bears. What do you think about Monty going forward, Zach?
Another, not to say the same thing over and over again, but in this state of running backs, you're probably not too unhappy with David Montgomery. You're not going to have that super explosive upside. At least that's what it appears since coming back off injury. But you're going to get those like 8 to 9 point games as a floor. So you could definitely do worse. Shout out Darnell Mooney, though.
Yeah, he had a big game against the Lions. He was probably the best Bear performer of that game. What do you think, Will?
Looking at their schedule, the next 2 weeks makes me nervous about Chicago in general, right? They're home against Arizona, and they're at Green Bay. But the following weeks is Minnesota and Seattle.
And then the Giants, yeah.
So if you can make it through the next 2 weeks, I'm definitely playing Montgomery those 3 weeks. Because I think those defenses have proven that they cannot stop the run. They're going to give up 3 to 4 yards per carry, if not more. And so, I'm playing him. I'm playing him those. And then they're at home, right? They're at home for the Vikings, then they're at Seattle, then they're home for the Giants. So I'm feeling pretty good about those potential matchups. But then we start talking about the coaching staff and what the coaching staff does. On pure talent, he should put up big numbers those 3 weeks. Figure he's a couple more weeks, he should be healthy. But then you got to, in the back of your head, you're just thinking, how bad is that coaching staff in Chicago? Will they F it up?
And will he be healthy in a few weeks is another question, because his snap percentage since coming back, when they played against Baltimore 2 weeks ago, he's on the field 95% of the time. And unless your name is Christian McCaffrey, back when he was fully healthy, that's not a number you see very often at a position where you're getting a lot of wear and tear on your body. So that's another thing that does worry me about David Montgomery, which is something that might be beneficial if you have Khalil Herbert on your team, because there's a chance Montgomery doesn't make it to those nice juicy playoff matchups, and then Khalil Herbert, he will come in and he will be productive. So let's move on to another team. We're gonna stick in the division. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the Lions, and we're not going to talk about the Vikings, because I think everyone knows now that Dalvin Cook's out. Alexander Mattison is definitely the way to go. Let's talk about the Packers. So I think the Packers have an interesting situation going on right now. Aaron Jones came back last week and was outsnapped and outworked by A.J. Dillon. Sure, he's not fully healthy yet, but A.J. Dillon has proven to me, at least, he can be their guy. I really don't know why they brought Aaron Jones back for all that money, but they did. So I think you're starting Aaron Jones, and I think A.J. Dillon will be a guy you can also start going forward, especially in this state. As you said, we're running backs. There's really hard to find better options. I think I'm going to be comfortable starting A.J. Dillon, and I'm not going to be surprised if there's a couple weeks where he actually outscores Aaron Jones down the stretch. But what do you think, Jeff? Are you nervous the way Aaron Jones played last week? He only had 10 carries, or you think that he will continue to get better as he gets healthier?
I think he will continue to get better. I think, A.J. Dillon, although he has huge legs, it is a case of fresh legs. Remember, Jones has been killing it all season until he got hurt. And Dillon has kind of been, given some spot work here and there. Dillon is a beast, hands down. But, Aaron Jones still, I think, adds a certain dimension to that offense. Dillon can go ahead and possibly be the bell cow next year, or whatever they do with
Aaron Jones is under contract for 3 more years after this year, which is
trade him or something,
yeah.
I don't think would happen. But what we're finding out after this year, you need 2 running backs. So if you got 2 good ones, you better keep them, because you never know what's going to happen. Hell, it seems like guys will slip out of a tub now and be on IR. You don't know what's going to happen. So, as far as playing them both, hey, whoever is the hot hand, that's who I'll have in the lineup. Right now, I would be playing A.J. Dillon probably over Aaron Jones until something else is proven different.
And what are your thoughts, Zach? We'll let you break this down right here.
Yeah, so to kind of go off that was actually a great point about learning that we need 2 running backs. And maybe Matt LaFleur is actually so ahead of the game that when we were clowning him for taking A.J. Dillon, he was actually doing the right thing, because you've seen the difference in teams when they lose. Look at the Titans, for instance. You lose Derrick Henry, your entire team is different. And granted, Aaron Jones isn't as dependent for success for the Packers like Henry is. He's certainly a playmaker. I think Jones will be better coming off the bye. I definitely agree. He will definitely get better as he heals up. But A.J. Dillon, man, he's a beast. And you're almost in another position where you might be able to start both these guys. And it's just, it's tough. But, this is one of the more popular questions I've gotten this week so far. Is what to do with some people need to drop players to make room, and you have all these teams where you're either handcuffing or you're holding on to two running backs. It's tough with these late season bye weeks, especially if you're trying to make a playoff push. You don't have any margin for error here. So, but yeah, Aaron Jones will get better.
And your thoughts, Will?
I think it's like we were talking earlier. I think it's a schedule look. I mean, I think Dillon has a decent week against the Bears this week, but I think the next 2 weeks it's probably back to Jones. And I think Green Bay seems to be coming together all at the right time, right? Wide receivers are coming back. Jones has the luck. I mean, they have the luxury to let Jones gradually come back into this, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I look at the schedule. The Ravens games, the Bears and Ravens game is more of a Dillon game for me, style of play. But then you go into the Browns and the Vikings, and I think it sets up for Jones. So if you have both of them, I'm probably leaning towards Dillon at least next week, and then watching what happens. But I think you have to understand that as they get closer to the end of the season and they're fighting for that number one seed and they're playing to win, that Jones is probably the better fit based on the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over the past 4 weeks that they've played, A.J. Dillon has had more than 11 points in each of those games, and Aaron Jones played in 3 of those games. He's only over 52% of the snaps in the one game where Aaron Jones didn't play, which is what makes me feel comfortable starting A.J. Dillon going forward. Do you have something you wanted to chime in there, Zach?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think at the moment you're right. A.J. Dillon is the guy now. And Will, like you said, that schedule definitely looks good if you're heading to the play. If you're looking pretty comfortable for the playoffs. Yeah,
once they get past that Baltimore matchup, it's going to be pretty easy for the running backs. We got 2 more teams we're gonna break down today. We're gonna leave the Seahawks till last. We're gonna keep Jeff in suspense. We're gonna talk about the 49ers backfield. And to me, I have seen a lot of questions actually about who do you start in the 49ers backfield? And to me, it's pretty simple, and I think it's going to be fairly simple for you guys too. It's got to be Elijah Mitchell coming off a massive week. I think he's going to continue to dominate the backfield. Jeff Wilson is back already, and that didn't seem to slow him down at all. So barring injury, I think Elijah Mitchell's got to be the guy going forward. You guys agree? I see Will shook his head over there. No, are you looking to start someone else out of this backfield, Will?
You won't let me start Deebo Samuel in the backfield? I mean, come on.
He's not playing the next 2 games, so it doesn't matter.
When he comes back, at what point does the fantasy gods allow us to play him as a running back too? Because shit, when he runs the ball, he scores. Mm-hmm. And he's getting enough touches. I don't know what in all seriousness, I don't know what the triggering amount is, and he's probably not going to reach it. But if he plays this way next year, you're talking about a guy who could play both wide receiver and running back if he's getting this amount of carries. That's an interesting read. So I'm jokingly, it's Mitchell, but watching that game this week, there's something about him at running back right now that Deebo Samuel and I know he's hurt, but it's when he plays at running back, that is like a dangerous combination for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. I think he's a better running back than Cordell Patterson. And, Cordell Patterson is now a full-time starting running back, so I see Zach is shaking his head over there at that comment now.
Don't ever disrespect the elite Cordell Patterson like that ever.
I cannot stand Cordell Patterson as a player. He's always been a pest to my fantasy football of running backs. I do not care that this is his year. This will be his only year. Don't worry, he will be done after this season.
Wow, spoken like a true Panthers fan.
No, he pissed me off more in Chicago than he does now in Atlanta. I could care less what he does in Atlanta. I hated what he did to Chicago when I had David Montgomery. That is my thing against Cordell Patterson.
You saw that story this week. He's the number 2 safety now in the defense, the backup safety.
Is he?
He does it all.
Yeah, on their depth chart, he is their second
No way.
safety. Yeah. Pro Football Weekly ran that story this week.
Wow.
And he's talking about getting to play some defensive snaps. Shit, he's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, not bad too, because he's probably on like the veteran minimum.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting paid too much. Yeah, he's listed as the backup safety. That is crazy. You know, he's one of those guys who can play any position like they used to do in the old days, you know?
That's it.
Tell me we all wouldn't want to watch that. Wouldn't you switch the channel to that if they said, hey, Cordell Patterson's playing both ways the whole game? Shit.
He would die.
Yeah. It'd be fun to watch, though.
Bring him back to his high school days.
It would be fun to watch for a game until he got hurt.
And I traded for him. I traded Kyle Pitts for him, and I'm feeling like I won.
You did. You did.
Yes.
Take your victory lap. Yep.
Yes, I did, man. But anyway, as a Seattle Seahawks fan who can't stand talking about the San Francisco 49ers, my answer to the question on which running back you play, whoever is healthy, that's my thing. One of those guys will trip on, the chain, the first down chain, walking out to the field and get hurt. So that's my thing, man. Whoever is healthy. It's been Elijah Mitchell. He stayed healthy, but I got a feeling it's next game. I don't want to wish bad on anybody, but an injury's coming.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Cordell Patterson's on a $3 million deal. 1-year deal. He's an unrestricted free agent after this season. He'll probably leave Atlanta. He will go somewhere, sign for a decent amount of money, and he will begin to pester away some, fantasy value from another running back. Don't you worry. It's going to happen.
He's probably going to Seattle.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's in Seattle. And then Chris Carson's value will be gone.
Carson's value is already.
Yeah, I was going to say, what value?
No, what? Chris Carson is.
Start on that.
He'll be back. He'll be back next year. Don't worry. The Seahawks won't have it.
Being back. That's the problem.
The Seahawks won't matter anyways because Russell Wilson might not be there, but.
Ooh.
Unlimited.
And I'm Russ's biggest fan, but I'm like, you better pump your brakes after these last 2 games, buddy.
Yeah.
Glad you got a home right now.
It's a good thing Philly is as dumb as they are, and they obviously still want to give up a lot for Russell Wilson when they have Jalen Hurts. But, as we're talking about Seattle, let's get into their running back position. We'll let you start off, Jeff. Adrian Peterson, I talked about it jokingly, will the Seahawks bring in Adrian Peterson? I guess they were watching, they're like, you know what? Let's bring in Adrian Peterson. We couldn't be worse than Alex Collins and Deejay Dallas. Jeff, you can start us off here. What are you doing with this backfield?
You guys saw me looking at my phone is because I wanted to make sure I had the research correct. As a Seattle Seahawks fan, I tried to put that 2020 draft out of my head. When we picked Jordan Brooks at number 27 in the first round and let Jonathan the Beast Taylor go to the second round at pick 47. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Why are you putting your money on a guy that just had his knee ripped apart and rebuilt? Chris Carson is a tough guy. I'll give him that. But when you had a chance to after you just messed up and drafted Rashad Penny the year before.
Yeah, I guess you really don't pay attention to any of your drafts, right? You just cut those all out?
And get Jonathan Taylor. We did not need another linebacker that did not play. I needed to get this out as you guys can see.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my issue with the Seattle Seahawks, that we did not draft Jonathan Taylor when we could. And I'm just saying right now, I think maybe you should give Deejay Dallas a chance rather than bringing in the leftovers that the Tennessee Titans just discarded.
Yeah, well, obviously the team doesn't agree with you.
Yeah. and look at what's been happening over there. It's been a shame. It's been just horrible. I think guys are going to be out of there after this year. Could be Carroll.
Yeah.
Schneider has had some good years, but they have made some grave mistakes in guys they have signed, and I believe Adrian Peterson. What did you see to just say I'm going to go ahead and sign this guy?
I mean, he can't be worse than Alex Collins, right?
What's that?
He can't be worse than Alex Collins.
Yeah, he can't. You're right. That's why you go
yeah, he can.
If you need to. Hell.
You really can't be worse than. I don't know why they brought in Alex Collins to begin with. Alex Collins, I don't know why they brought in Alex Collins to begin with. Sure, he was good back in the day, but not anymore. It's like when they tried to revive Marshawn Lynch's career.
I would rather them bring Marshawn Lynch back than Adrian Peterson. I'm like, make that phone call. Hell, I'll give you $5 on that one.
Bring him back out of retirement a second time?
What's that?
Bring him back out of retirement a second time to come play for Seattle? He would.
He didn't do that bad, actually. And I still think he'd probably run harder than Adrian Peterson right now. So,
Yep.
I don't know. Your line is horrible. So, Adrian Peterson is not going anywhere through that line. So,
Are you rostering any of these running backs?
no, I'm not falling for the Adrian Peterson okie doke again. That was in a league where you have limited amounts of waivers and you got to put up money to get them. So I put a whole crap load of money on Adrian Peterson and I lost my bet.
I may have done the same thing too. Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore. That's in the past. What are your thoughts on this backfield now, Zach?
Yeah, DJ Dallas is the only shred of a rosterable player in that backfield. I picked him up, I think maybe last week or I don't know when it was. Recently, I picked him up in a 12-team league that's fairly competitive and stashed him on the bench just in case because, again, for the millionth time with the running back position, you can use every piece you can get. But just to pick off of that Jordan Brooks pick, the Dolphins also did the same thing in the draft. We took Noah Inkpanagani instead of Jonathan Taylor or DeAndre Swift or Michael Pittman Jr. And Noah Inkpanagani is like a fourth-string cornerback who's a healthy scratch most of the time. So good job, Miami.
Yeah.
Who did we take in that draft? I'll get back to you guys on that. Will, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just stay away. Stay away, Will.
Come on, Will. Let's hear your thoughts.
What is there to say? I mean, it's like it's kind of a car wreck you're watching that this team shouldn't be as bad as it is, but every week, we want to say it was Russ was hurt, and I don't think Russ is 100%, but this is a foundational problem with the Seahawks. This is a coaching front office problem. Their drafts have been horrible, and it's finally caught up with them. And now they don't even have the first round. They don't even get the luxury of having
Jamal Adams, he's pretty good, eh?
Yeah,
no
for a
safeties,
linebacker.
no safety's worth that.
He's a good outside linebacker.
There
Yeah.
you go.
He's better than Jordan Brooks.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
So
I mean-
it's add insult to injury. So poor Jeff has to watch this, and then on draft night you got to watch your top 5 pick go to the Jets.
And it is a top 5 pick right now, too.
Yeah, it's the number 4 pick, and the way
Yeah.
they're playing, it might be number 2 or number 3. What, I mean, for Jamal Adams,
Let me say this too.
For
How
Jamal.
obvious does it have to be when you are a running team? You built your whole offense on beast mode, and you're gonna go pick up guys that don't run like him. I'm like, what the? Chris Carson did before he got hurt. After he got hurt, he was clearly not the same. He's serviceable.
That's why
but
he's
when
hurt.
you have Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Who is now looking like the second coming of Derrick Henry.
yeah,
I was like, even him, when Tennessee didn't look like they were going to re-sign him, go get Derrick Henry.
yeah.
You guys could have had a Dante Foreman, too.
Be a dominant running
Like-
back. Go get one.
Like, not even a dominant running back. Dante Foreman would have been so much better in this offense.
Yeah, Phillip
Then-
Lindsay.
Yeah, Phil. Oh yeah, Phillip Lindsay guy. He's pretty good. You guys could have had him too.
Now, man. We need that dominant running back. Now it's just trickling down. It's even affecting my man DK.
Yeah, that's my big problem with Seattle right now. Where the hell is DK Metcalf? He is your best player on offense outside of Russell Wilson, probably. And he doesn't get his first target to the fourth quarter?
Hand him the ball. Let's just do that. Let's Debo Samuel.
Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, beside Russell Wilson?
Yeah, you just gotta bomb it. You gotta bomb it to Tyler Lockett every play at this point. I mean, that's the only option you really have. You just put DK across the middle, 0 routes for Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, you could run them both deep and just throw the ball.
I would love to pay a reporter to ask Pete Carroll the question. So ever since you blew that call on the Super Bowl from not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch, you have for whatever reason hated running backs. And like Jeff said, how the hell do you?
Is that him or Snyder?
Well, it's both, right? They're so invested in Russ. Look, this is a question. This is a conversation nobody wants to have. They're so in with Russ that they have built the whole team around him, and now that Russ needs support, they're unable to give it to him. So the whole house has fallen in on itself, and it all goes back to that play in the Super Bowl when they decided to throw that damn ball instead of giving it to Marshawn because they didn't want to win the game, it's because they didn't want Marshawn to win the game. And I would love to have a reporter ask Pete Carroll in the Seattle front office, was that play worth it?
Can't believe you guys are making me relive this right now. I really
Yeah, so we got a Panthers, a Vikings, and a Dolphins fan making fun of the Seahawks fan who was the last team in the Super Bowl out of the four.
You're only as good as the last game you played.
Like
no. I would not like to live by that motto. Let's not do that.
I'm back to the bench.
Yeah, to me the Panthers have been making some. Why do you
Walker,
like?
Man, put in PJ Walker. What are you guys doing? Get Cam Newton out of here.
Yeah.
Nah, don't worry. Cam's gonna have a good week this week. He's on bye. He's on bye. We got this. We're good. We're good to go.
Your line will play pretty good this week.
Yeah. I'm not worried about anything this week for Cam Newton. He's going to be all good. And then we play Atlanta. Not worried about that matchup either. So, two good weeks. And then we play Buffalo, Tampa, and New Orleans. So, not so great. But I want to thank you guys all for joining. I want to thank everyone for watching. Make sure you guys check out Zach Ocean State Fantasy Football on Instagram. You can check out Media on Instagram. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the latest version of their app that will be dropping soon. You can reach anyone on there. You can post it straight to any of your social media platforms. Obviously, you can check me out, Pro Football Craze, on Instagram. But yeah, thanks for joining, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this helped you guys make your decisions with your running backs. You can always shoot me a DM if there is a topic you want covered on next week's show. And make sure you guys tune in again next week. But yeah, thanks for joining, guys.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ocean.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime.